Hey, this is Rob from Producertech, and in this movie, we're going to be taking a look at the Ableton Live template that comes with NI's brand new bit of hardware, Maschine Jam. After the product was first announced, I was keen to see how some of the features like the 8x8 grid and touch strip bank have been mapped. So let's check it out. First up then, I've got a drum rack on track 1. So I'll hit the pad mode button to change the grid to playing that. Instantly you can see the pads in the corner lighting up to show the drums. And I can use the up and down buttons in the D-pad to move up and down the rack. So I'll turn on the metronome using the shift function, and then record in a kick and snare. And I can quantize that using another shift function up here. And now I can record in some percussion to go with that. And quantize by 50% this time, so I don't totally lose the natural timing. And now I'll add a hat, but I'll turn on note repeat. And the speed of repeats is changed using the encoder. So let's record something in. And if I want to add any other drums to the clip, I just hit shift and record to try something out. And then once again to record it in. Coming out of pad mode then, we return to the session view grid, with just our single solitary clip in at the moment. Supposing I want to edit it but keep the original, then I can hold duplicate and hit the clip to double it up. Now let's look at a different edit mode for clips, and that's step sequencing mode. Here it works as you'd expect, by hitting a drum and then using the grid above to turn 16th note steps on and off. So I could get rid of the hat and maybe add a ride cymbal instead. The pads work in 16 velocity mode when step editing. So the blue pads to the left can be used to select a velocity amount, so I could have a low level ride on the downbeats, and then a louder one on the upbeats. Track 2 in the project has a bass preset on, so I can switch to playing that now using the next group button. And notice how selecting the track arms it, but if I want to select tracks without arming them, then I can hold shift whilst pressing the group buttons. And conversely, the record mode shift command then allows tracks to be record armed without selecting. So as this is a regular instrument track, going into pad mode means I can then play MIDI notes with the pads. The default mode is chromatic, but I can use the D-pad here to change that, with left and right buttons changing the scale. Whenever controls are changed, live status bar at the bottom tells you what's happening, so I could switch it to a minor scale. And the up and down buttons shift in semitones, so I could go up to D. And if I hold shift, then up and down shifts in octaves. So now I can record something in D minor. And step edit is also available for regular instruments. So I could edit this clip now by removing and adding steps as I like. With the numbered buttons at the top, selecting the section of the clip I want to edit. And on the third track, I've got simpler with a vocal sample in, which is sliced up. So I can go into keyboard mode and set my pads back to chromatic to trigger each slice with consecutive pads. And I might turn note repeat back on to record this one. And there's a shift function along the bottom for setting the pattern length, after which I could rotate the encoder to change it to 1 bar long. I'll mute that vocal for now though, as it's pretty invasive, which we do by hitting mute and then using the button for that track. And now, selecting the next track, I can play something in for this pad. And if I want to get rid of anything to try again at any point, then I can hit undo using the shift function at the top. And there are some handy transpose shift functions at the end for changing the pitch in octaves or semitones. And now we've got a few tracks here, you can see how we get handy metering of track levels on the touch strips, as we're in level mode. And I can adjust volumes now by sliding up and down. So this is a nice tactile way of balancing tracks. Shift and level switches to pan mode, and the aux button toggles any available sends. And the whole time, the master volume can be seen up on the main meter and can be adjusted by the encoder, which can, however, be switched to cue or metronome level. Or the level of the selected track when in group mode, which could be handy if you're using the touch strips in a different mode. So now let's look at automation. For instance, we might want to do some work on the vocal loop. So if I solo the track for a minute by hitting solo and then that track, then switching to control mode, we can then manipulate Simpler's parameters using the touch strips, with the different pages of parameters selected with the arrow buttons. So on the pitch page, I can see transpose there, and I'm thinking it could be interesting to automate it. So I'll turn on automation record with the auto button, and then hit record to see what sounds I can come up with. And now, soloing the bass instead, in control mode still. As default, we're controlling the instrument's parameters. So in this case, tension. But if I want to control the rack macros, I just hit shift and control, and then I can tweak those instead. So let's record in some automation for those too. So now I've got a few more clips in the grid, you can see how much you can access from the hardware. So I can launch any of these clips now to see what works together. If I need to move to a different part of the grid, then the D-pad can be used to jump in groups of 8, or individually when shift is held down. And scenes are launched using the numbered buttons at the top. And all the colours here represent those in live. So if I change the colour of a clip or scene, then it shows up on the hardware, making it easier to see what's what. So I know exactly where my breakdowns and main drops are, for example. And finally, I can stop a track from playing by holding browse and hitting it. Or stop all clips with shift and browse. And I can switch back to controlling Maschine if I'm using it in the project by hitting shift and the Q button. So that's it for this tutorial. For more Maschine courses, check out our range at Producertech.com.